you see a guy in a Cybertruck?
Appears normal, and then when you look closer, it's like you got issues, man. Like, you got real issues. When I see a Cybertruck, it's like you're an instant freak. You're an instant freak.
Really? So like he's a 10, but he drives a Cybertruck. Where are we at?
2.
No way!
Yeah,
Really?
Sorry,
that bad?
Because
imagine you getting out of the cyber. What I have never seen yet is
Yeah.
a girl getting out of a Cybertruck.
so true.
Have you ever seen that?
I want a car that says I'm bad with money and I yell at my wife in public. My theory about why a man might buy a Cybertruck is that his wife would not allow him to tattoo a-hole across his forehead. People that got suckered into a Cybertruck. Count 7. Hi friends, welcome back. So if you're looking for some Elon and Tesla drama, you've come to the right place, and let's just jump right in. So we're talking about Cybertruck. Essentially, it looks like many females are not into it, not their thing. Guys, you can see what my wife thinks about it. Also, I can assure you she's not really into it either. But we did a review about a week or so ago. Please check that out. And it's interesting because we just did a video on this, and you guys know what I'm talking about, where Elon supporting Trump politically, which is essentially, I think, his first speech he's given in this way, and he's jumping up and down for joy. And it's interesting, reading through your comments and also just seeing different things around the web. A lot of people are like, man, I'm never buying a Tesla ever again. Screw that. And this is a thing that's so fascinating about how, very quickly a particular brand or product can become politicized. The one thing, though, I do want to mention with this stuff is that I want to talk about the money and economics of it, because I think they're both related. And if both are working against you, it's really, really tough. So what I mean by both related. So first, you got to mention the politics, right? So, Elon is really overtly political now. I'm trying to think in my history if I have ever seen a CEO put on a hat of a politician, change their profile picture to be said thing, tweet about this, politics all day, every day. I'm thinking maybe not, at least in my lifetime. You guys can let me know if I'm missing something. But yeah, that's him. He's got the flag behind him and it says "Make America Great Again." And I think Elon refers to himself as Dark MAGA. His pumpers, his stock promoters are also on board. Farzad, right? He's like, Elon Musk's inspiring speech at the Trump rally, right? And he's posting this kind of stuff and sharing the speech. And Elon and his pumpers always talk about this kind of stuff. And this is what Farzad's tweeting out just 31 minutes ago. Being a woman is more difficult than being a man in the Western world. And you can, select your polls. But this is the kind of stuff they're preoccupied with, right? Be it your politics, be it your gender, culture wars, this kind of stuff. And guys, I want to steer away a bit from that. I want to mention that it does exist. I mean, you can't ignore it. I mean, essentially, Elon's turning away his you could call them super fans, because when he first started, now I want to make this clear, I have to be careful with my language. He's not the founder of Tesla. He sued the original founders to be called a co-founder. But I'll just say when Tesla started selling cars, or started to ramp up, their primary customers were actually Democrats in California, people who wanted to be electric car, were concerned about the planet, like this kind of stuff. And so one way that the brand is really hurting is that essentially you're turning away the original people who wanted to buy your vehicles, and now you're going to a different political party, which is a bit strange in terms of business. The other thing too, and I want to talk about the money situation, is something like this. This happened a few months ago, and I'll read it here. It says, this is from Pranav, and this person says, "Hey, Elon Musk, hit a snag with my Cybertruck, the second delivered in New York City. Love the car. Just months after getting it, Geico dropped my coverage, saying they won't insure Cybertrucks anymore. Struggling to find insurer after 5+ brokers turned me down. Can't drive it. Also can't sell it due to the 1-year restriction. Any advice on what I can do here?" And I looked into this one, and this person had a conversation with the Tesla stock promoters and stuff like that. So it appears to be real. And the reason why I mention that is that there was an article today that came out that was saying Geico is canceling more insurance of Cybertrucks. I looked into this one, and I can't, I'm just being honest with you, I can't tell if this was real or not, because the original post where this person sort of got this from has been deleted. So I don't know. I can't comment on that. But I looked into it more, and I wanted to say that it appears that this is a twofold problem. And like I found multiple posts on this. It's not just one or two, just multiple things where people are talking about the cost of insurance. So this person says, it appears to be a doctor, and their family says, "My grown daughter and her husband just bought a new Cybertruck. The annual auto insurance is wait for it, $6,000. So that's annually. That's pretty expensive. And I'd like to hear your guys', for anyone out there who has a car, just throw some numbers around how much you pay for insurance. I know there's a lot of variables. It depends where you live. It depends how old you are. It depends if you're male or female. It depends like on all kinds of stuff. But Teslas and Cybertrucks are expensive to insure. And then I was just reading some other stuff in other forums, and this person says, first, Geico will provide you with insurance for the Cybertruck, then cancel it 2 weeks. Ow. In states without Tesla insurance like New York, this caused a serious issue in other car insurances, either A, refuse to insure the Cybertruck, or B, charge an exorbitant monthly fee. The thing with the Geico stuff, whether or not the story's real or not, is basically your mileage will vary. So from what I can gather looking at various things, I think it is possible that Geico has canceled Cybertruck for some people. Has it canceled it for all people? I can't tell that. I didn't find anything official from Cybertruck. So this is something that I like to do with you guys, is just go through the stuff and offer an honest opinion on these things. And I'll just say with all this stuff, be careful what you see. But it does appear that Cybertruck insurance is expensive. I can see that. And as these things are more and more on the road, if indeed they cause more accidents, etc., it may go up the premiums, or insurance companies may not want to cover it. I think the insurance issue is an important one, especially when we go into this robotaxi event this week, because I think, in my opinion, that it's going to be a real bear to insure those things, especially when Elon's promising you all that you're going to make a bunch of money on said thing. Like, you're not in the car and you're kind of trusting the driver of the robot driver to drive said car. I mean, one thing I'll mention, and I said it before and I'll say it again, you will know when FSD, robot driving, right, when this stuff is ready, when the insurance companies are lowering your rates because they think it's safe, right? They'll have data on this kind of stuff. That's what they do. That's their job. So we'll check out the insurance stuff and that. And related issue, which I think is very much related. I saw this headline, which sort of spurred the creation of this video, which I want to talk with you about. It says, anxious Europeans hoard savings as U.S. consumers boost global economy. And the basic gist of it is that I was thinking about this, how someone like an Elon, remember he's from South Africa, came to the USA basically to be a car salesman, essentially what it is. And, could he succeed in another country, right? Some people said, I don't like Elon, please leave, et cetera, et cetera. I would argue that maybe only in America could someone like Elon do really, really well, because we have this consumer-based economy, right? People really need to spend to keep the system going. And when I saw this, it was interesting where people in Europe, I guess, aren't spending so much compared to Americans. It shows like differences in culture. And there's a couple funny comics, which I think kind of relate to this. Here's an example here. I hate materialism, but I hate not having stuff even more, right? And that's kind of like we all know that we don't need a Cybertruck. Like, we all know that. But kind of the culture spurs you on to where your friends are like, oh my God, that Cybertruck's so awesome. And Elon says, oh my God, that Cybertruck's so awesome. And if you follow, depends what circles you run into, but if you follow, all the Tesla stock promoters on Twitter, like, oh my God, it's the best car, the best design, everything. And this is something that I think you all know deep down, that, having a good financial base, being conservative with money, right, investing well, that those are actually very positive things. But you get caught up into the culture, and I would argue very much American, right? Because we all hate materialism, but I mean, who doesn't want to be not having anything? And I saw this cartoon too, which I want to share with you. I thought was kind of similar kind of vein. This person goes in, an old lady. May I open an old-fashioned savings account that pays a fair interest rate? And the banker's like, stick to the menu, ma'am, meaning that, if indeed, I don't know what FedPal is going to do for sure. It looks like they're cutting rates, but like how much, who knows? But if indeed that, say they cut rates to, back to zero, and we go back to printing again, it kind of forces all of us to buy into this consumer culture, because just holding cash, we're not really getting much, return on our money. It's so easy to say borrow, and then you see inflation go up, and you're like, well, I mean, borrowing's kind of worth it, right? Because essentially what you're trying to do is like, I get cheap money now to buy things, or at low financing, or buy things to invest, to watch that account grow, be it stocks, be it real estate, etc. Essentially, that's just our system. That's how it works. And it's kind of like, again, you go to the bank, I just want to save money, and it's like, well, you don't really have a choice. And that's kind of and choice meaning that you're looking for the best return, or best use value of your money. And this is something that when you talk about, say, the European or American or UK and other countries as well, is the positive about the USA is because we keep people, excited about spending, and that's part of our culture. It allows companies to profit, right? Allows people like Elon to make a ton of money, right? That's how our system works. You borrow money, you give it to Elon, he takes your money and he hypes you up and it's like, we got this new car next year. So you borrow more money and you buy the next car, right? You keep the system going. But it's not like that everywhere in the world. And that's something that I like to give you guys a different perspective on things. So for example, this is the Eurozone. And I'll show you different charts on this, but basically during the pandemic, everyone was saving money. I mean, there's a couple of reasons. One, you're worried, and two, you can't spend it anyway because you're locked down. As we came out of lockdown, spending started to ramp up. So you did see kind of this, how can I say, a drop in savings, because this is a savings rate. So I know because I'm talking about spending, but this is like basically how much people save. It's a savings rate. So say people are saving high in the pandemic, that started to drop down to spending, and then as you can see here, at least in the Eurozone, savings rate is starting to pick up, meaning people are spending less. They're a little more concerned about war, concerned about the future, that kind of stuff. So Eurozone savings rates are starting to pick up, make that clear. In the UK, it's the same kind of thing. Savings rates are starting to pick up. So you guys can see this. The pink line on both of these charts, both the Euro and the UK one, is sort of your average, like the last 10 years. And they're going essentially in UK above average savings rate. Now look at USA. The ramp up is there, but you're under the average, which is very different than the UK or Europe. This is why I want to show you guys the chart. Let me show you again the Europe. That's the USA right here. Let me just show you the Europe one. You can see this. So Europeans are saving above the average that they've had, say, the past, and this is from 2010 2019. You guys can see this here, the past, say 10 or so years, whereas the Americans are actually saving less. Now, you could argue a couple things. You could say, hey, Chris, it's not that Americans don't want to save, it's just that we can't save because things are way, way too expensive. I would throw a little bit of caveat there. I mean, have you seen the prices of housing and energy in Europe or UK? For those of you who are viewers of the channel, and I know we have a lot of viewers in, say, UK and various countries of Europe, be it Germany, France, etc. You guys can let me know. Like, is this about that the culture, you think you save more than Americans, or do you think it's really more about just things maybe cost less and then it's easier to save? That's a question. I'm going to argue, I'm pretty sure things cost a lot of money in the UK and in Europe. I wouldn't be surprised. The other issue as well, which is kind of interesting, is that in Europe, that's the USA chart here. In Europe, you also feel like war is more closer on your doorstep, so you feel more uncertain with Russia and Ukraine. And also too, you're concerned about what's going on with the oil because you're more dependent on imports. So there's just a lot more fears than, say, what we have in the USA. You take a look at this is kind of interesting one. How is the savings rate going to be, say, going forward? What are economists forecasting? Say Germany and Europe, it's still going to be higher savings rates than USA. So again, a couple ways you could argue. You could argue that Americans just don't save culturally, or Americans, things cost more money. But I kind of push back on the other one because I see the cost of stuff around the world, and it's not just USA where you have inflation. It's everywhere around the world. Culturally too, guys. It's kind of interesting. This is another chart. This is the G20 personal savings rate. I live here in Korea, right? So you can actually see among the G20, Korea is the highest savings rate, right? And the numbers are like 35 in comparison. USA is like 2.9, is like really, really different. Then you got Spain, Mexico save, France saves, etc. You have some negatives, which actually in Japan or South Africa, which is kind of interesting itself. It's a different issue, but the point I just want to make is that I think you could look at any number of combination of things. And I can assure you guys, I live here in Korea. It's not like everything's like super cheap here. It's not like that. Just culturally different. And something like, say, when I say, and I know it's not fun to say, and let me pull a picture of a Cybertruck here. Actually, we'll do this one here. When I say, hey guys, me, myself, I don't need the Cybertruck. I'm fine with mass transit. Or if I do buy, say car, I want to, pay cash for something, and I don't want to overpay for stuff. That's just me. It's a cultural thing, right? But if you, live in USA, a lot of people fall for this thing because essentially you want to keep up with the Joneses. That's part of American culture. It's part of like, what keeps the thing going is like spend. So there's positives and negatives. And I just want, like say the positive to be, are always growing our economy, right? It's a strong economy. It keeps going. The negatives though, is that you have a lot of consumers that are really struggling. And the one thing I want to say though, is that someone wrote a comment in the recently on I think it was a couple of videos ago, they were saying, the person said they were a banker, and they were saying, because I mentioned the, saving money, you don't need to go out and buy expensive cars. And the person said, I'm a banker and I see all the consumers come in and buy the, expensive sports cars and Ferraris, etc. And then I know, the companies like, well, this first, say, for example, like a Tesla or Ferrari or whatever, are going to make money because you convince enough people to buy said things that they don't really need. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that, Tesla is going to go to the moon, etc., because there are lots of car companies out there. But the point I'm trying to make is that this is sort of why, companies do well, as long as you convince people to keep buying, as long as you keep need to buy that new iPhone, etc. So you have a balance there. And sort of what, I try to talk with you guys about is that if you do know that, say, the American consumer, just for example, let's say they're always going to be shopping, then take advantage of that. Take ownerships of companies where people spend their money, right? Take ownership of that. Profit off of other people's, if you want to call it mismanagement or culture craziness or whatever, but take advantage of that, because that's just how our system works. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to follow everyone in terms of spend all the time. No, not necessarily. And in fact, I talk about the opposite. I think it's better to be part of the ownership, part of the system, opposed to the spend and not have anything part of the system. That's just my opinion on that. And I think it's a good one. And that's why I share it with you on the channel. So I want to hear your thoughts about any one of these topics that we talked about. I always appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.